All right, well, here we are. All right, Lady Bunny's making a dramatic entrance, even though it's radio. Hello. All right. Well, we'll let you all know Fun Bun is in the house. And you, of course, can find Lady Bunny on Twitter, LadyBunny77, LadyBunny.net on the web, and Lady Bunny's show, Transjester, is returning to the Stonewall Inn right here in New York City every Tuesday in May, 7 p.m., 5 shows only, starting May 2nd. Bunny, it's lovely to see you.
Wait a minute. Derek and Romaine, it's great to see and hear both of you. Welcome back. It's what I say to you and all your fans. It's good to be back with you. I've missed you.
We've missed you, Bunny.
It's lovely to see you.
Yes, well, don't get too sappy. But I mean, I'm telling the truth. You're, I don't know what.
I know.
A radio host.
Yes, which means automatically suspect in the truth department.
Well, you're the fake news.
Yes, we are.
You are. You are. Yes. And Romaine, I must hear tales of your child. I know all you're too modest to bore your followers with it, but I, on a personal note, must ask.
She's wonderful.
And now for the truth.
She's a nightmare.
Okay, as I suspected.
She's been making slime and is now, I keep finding slime all over my house.
So what you're saying is that your child is turning you on. That's gross.
Yes.
That is gross.
It's very gross.
Please do not speak that way.
Okay,
this is a new show. This is a new avenue. We're not going to go down there. Yes, we are.
We'll probably go down many of the same avenues, buddy.
Y'all, speaking of going down, y'all know the dirt on me from way back, and I love that you spew it freely, along with Hedda or any other two-bit diva you can get on here.
Well, Romaine did talk about the many miles of penis that you have sucked, and I might have said that if all the penis that has been in your mouth was laid end to end, it would go from here to Uranus. So...
Honey, I'm proud of that.
I know, and this was not a dig.
I always said my motto was get all you can while you can, because one day they're not going to come knocking.
No. that.
No.
And you'll be saying, I wish I had blown those 2 gorgeous Latino security guards at Limelight. Well, guess what? I blew them.
Yeah. Nobody on their deathbed ever says, I wish I'd spent more time at the office, or I'm glad I went home early.
Yeah, exactly.
I took that hit of ecstasy and and rage, and I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too, Bunny. Now, Bunny, you've been busy.
I have. I'm a workaholic now.
Yeah, and you look really, you know what? You look really good. This is like the healthiest I think I've ever seen you.
Healthiest as in generous proportions. Because in that respect, I'm a healthy, girthy
I was
gal.
actually going to say I think you've slimmed down a little bit.
No, you need new glasses.
It looks like you've gotten yourself some rest.
No, pills will do that.
Yeah.
After a binge. Oops.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. You look good to me.
I'm teasing. No, I have been working hard, and I've been enjoying it. And, some people, I love it when people, and I guess some people would say, ooh, that's ageist. But when they've said things like, Bunny bursts out onto the stage like a tornado, I'm kind of like, well, what did you expect me to do? I mean, sure, I'm 54, but babe, I'm an entertainer. I'm not going to get out there and just whatever. Hi, let's sit on a stool and act classy. Coco Peru. No, so I mean, it's like, I'm like, what do you think I would be doing? I mean, Tina Turner's still doing her thing. Grace Jones slayed the whole world at her last tour doing the hula hoop at 60 braless. That was one of the most amazing things I've seen. I know there's a lot of bullshit going on in the world, but can I tell you about Grace Jones at the Hollywood Bowl? I've never been there.
Right.
And what I think is missing from LA is that people don't walk and they don't get together, and there's no street scene, which is what I crave still about New York.
Of course.
And so I got to see it. They all came out, all the freaks. So I got to see everybody at once instead of drive over here for 40 minutes. So honey, there was an eclipse that night. Grace Jones eclipsed the eclipse. And, I mean, she was wandering over to her backup dancers. They had no clue what was going on. This was not rehearsed. But she was just jamming to her own music. I mean, this, older gal, and the music holds up. And it was one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen, because, no, you don't need the backup dancers. If you're actually an artist that's still feeling your still great music, it blew my mind.
Well, and the Hollywood Bowl is such a fantastic venue.
Yes.
You're out there. You're under the stars. Everybody's all out there together. It's fabulous.
And we're wearing wigs, and it's Wigstock 2017, sponsored by the DNR show.
Are you going to bring Wigstock back?
We've done it as a cruise for the past 2 years, and that was loads of fun. And we're looking around at stuff to do.
Yeah.
I want to do a book. We've always wanted to do a book, but organizing the photos, and honey, these are before digital times, okay? So we're talking, etchings. We're talking
on a cave wall. Yeah.
Thank you.
I saw that there was a story about a TV show being developed about RuPaul's early days here in New York. You were around then. Will we be expecting a bunny character? Or what do you think should or should not be in the show?
Well, I love that someone made a TMZ mock-up that suggested a headline that Louis Anderson's talents had been and looks had been tapped to play me, which I love, because I always say I look exactly like Pamela Anderson from a certain angle.
Right.
Up on top of the wig, when my head is bobbing back and forth.
Right.
On a cock, I look exactly like Pamela Anderson.
Sure.
Take it off, and I look like Louis Anderson. Minus the sex appeal. But
Louis Anderson can't play you at 19.
Well, no, that was just a mock-up, and it was so hateful that I forwarded it widely because, honey, when you're a 54-year-old fat man named Lady Bunny, you do tend to laugh at yourself whenever it is offered because you know that you're a nut job, and you know that that's the only way that you can get through a rotten thing called life on a rainy day in New York City to you.
Honestly, the more hateful things that people say about me, the more I want to like and share it. Honestly,
this
it
is
really,
true about him.
If it's funny,
me.
if it's
funny, yeah. But I mean, generally, it tickles me. I find it delightful. So it doesn't bother me. It makes me stronger. Your hate just only makes me more powerful.
Jackie Beat told Sherry Vine, don't look at the comments on your YouTube video, because one of them, some kid just commented, wrinkles. Just that one word can be so cutting. So, I mean, a lot of stars, well, like Bette Midler, who's reigning on Broadway right now, she put out her first album and it was the darling of the press, and her second album was so roundly rejected that she went to Europe for a sabbatical to just like say, "Ooh, I can't. Yeah. You're hateful. So I thought you loved me." So it was like. I mean that you have to be careful what you read. As far as the RuPaul role, it is a fictional thing that a writer is developing. The guy that's tied to it is a writer. So I can't guarantee that they would. I mean, maybe they would just get a drag queen with a big blonde wig and not call it me. I don't know what they're, if that's what they want to do. If they want to include, I mean, but it is fictional, so we can't. Plus, the hateful thing that no one wants to admit is that I could still play me. That's what you really can't take.
You should.
Because I didn't say it looked good back then, but it looked pretty much the same. Okay? I didn't say it looks good. I said it was close to what it is now. It just expanded.
Wow.
Well, I can only imagine what it was like when you and RuPaul first came to New York.
Oh, my God. We lived in the meatpacking district before it was trendy, where they were packing actual meat.
Right.
Gross.
And so were the trans hookers. Notice I didn't say tranny,
right?
Which is something that I go into in my show, transgender, because it's so. But someone asked me what the inspiration for the show was. I said, well, partially is I don't see RuPaul knowing him as well as I do, and living in a trans prostitution area in Atlanta. and New York, and knowing the girls by name sometime, and trying to get their husband in Atlanta. I mean, RuPaul is not an enemy of the trans community,
Right.
And so if some new force is coming in and saying, wait, this is now a slur, this is hate speech, I have to say, your decision in a boardroom does not erase my life of revering trans people as the closest to me. And the drag and the trans, we're the closest. You can add 15 more letters. There won't be one more close to the LGBTIQ the gay and the trans. That's our sisters.
Right.
We know and understand everything. So how this wedge is drunk by someone, the wordplay. So Ru is not the enemy of trans people. The enemy of trans people is the ones that don't want to say anything about the violence towards them, or that would cause violence to them, or that would deny them housing or employment.
Right. Want them to disappear.
It's not RuPaul.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't know whether you want to talk about politics or not, but we spent a lot last year. There's 56 gender variations on Facebook that you can say, including female to male and F to M. Isn't that an abbreviation? It's the same thing. So while a drag queen would never say stop experimenting with your sexuality to anyone, why would a drag queen say that? It's just, I don't know. It's nuts to think that a wedge has been, driven into such a tight knit community. I mean, I was at the Monster the other night, and there was the gorgeous trans Latina that comes there not every week, but when I'm there. I mean, I thought that the gays cradled her, and the way they were dancing with her, it was very like we were different from you, but we totally respect you. It was I felt love. I mean, that's what I feel. And coming from the club world where you are a hostess, baby, if I see a trans person, I'm probably going to like that person. I'm probably going to get along with her. Well, so if I'm working a club, of course my attitude is not drive a wedge between us, but hey, baby, you look great. Do you need a drink? I'll give you a little bit more attention, because in the real world where you're struggling to walk down the street passing, you're not getting such a good time. We're family. Right. Whether you like it or not. So, but it is difficult, and it's a gentle thing. I live by the center, and where we once had ice cream.
Yes, I remember that.
It was fabulous.
I walked by these two young teen trans girls, and I didn't even nod or barely even smile, but it was like just a slight acknowledgement that say, hey, we're family. Now, I don't know what they took from that. Did they think, that's an off-duty drag queen? Does she think we're one of us? No, we live it. Or were they thinking, what is that? I mean, or are they thinking, have we been spooked? We thought we were, passing as women. I don't know. I was just trying to say, in everything that you're going through, this is a friendly face if you need one.
Right.
But friendly face doesn't mean that I could do everything that the word police says, because when a jackass like Donald Trump is the president, I need to laugh. I'm jacked up on stilts. My nasty Nelly nuts are shoved up my ass. There's 5 wigs glued to my head and shit on top and under my eyes. I will laugh. And I will not worry about political correctness as long as that jackass has any.
I agree. I think we have to laugh a little.
I think so too. Now, Buddy, has it always been 5 wigs piled on top of each other?
No, honey. When the body got bigger, the wigs got bigger. And so that might be a trend that you will see more of until I can hardly walk like kimchi. No,
how heavy is that wig?
Well, I have to have a special glue to hold it on, but Ru turned me on to the glue. RuPaul. And perhaps you've heard of him. He was a drag performer from the 90s. Do you recall at all?
I don't.
I do.
No. Okay. Well,
yeah.
She was okay. Anyway, she turned me on some super duper glue and didn't turn me onto the remover. So I got home back then drunk. I ripped the wig off. Woke up in the morning. I had a reverse widow peak ripped into my scalp. Because who doesn't want to thin their hairline over age 40? Who over age 40 doesn't want to thin the hairline?
Oh, Lord. Now, how is your relationship with Ru these days?
Mainly by email, but not that frequent.
Were you surprised when you heard that Ru got married?
Is this news?
I love the look on Buddy's face right now. I was like, what?
Rue has always loved hard, and Rue is someone, and I don't think he would have any problem with me saying this. When he falls for someone, that person has a place in his heart, and that person is probably not going to leave there.
Okay.
It's like it's a deep connection. I think it's always been that way, even for guys who were just in his life a short time younger on. But for him, that was it, and that person's, whether they were together or not,
right,
there was a place in his heart. So you see, all the bitch rumors aren't true about Rue.
I never thought Rue was a bitch. I've always thought Rue was actually.
Well, then you've not met her.
I've met her many times. I mean, she's quite delightful. Quite delightful. Not nearly as delightful as you, of course, Bunny.
Well, of course. Yes.
So let's talk about Transgester, your show at the Stonewall Inn.
It's back. It ran there for like 6 months last year, and I love it there. I mean, Stonewall is legendary. We all know that, but we also know that no one takes their new date out to impress them for drinks at Stonewall. You just don't. No, I mean But what I love is that young people are coming there, and it's like a pool. There's a pool table. I mean, it's like there's Tree from the Stonewall, the bartender from like Fire Island, the giant guy still working there. I mean, the people were great, and this was happening throughout the entire time of the Pulse shooting. There were some emotional moments out there, and it's wild for me because, when we have these different gay neighborhoods like the East Village with, Act Up and Boy Bar Pyramid, then Chelsea with the Special K and circuit music bodybuilders. Right. Then it's now the Twinks and Hell's Kitchen that love Broadway and just moved here from Ohio. We have these different neighborhoods. But what was the neighborhood when they had a grisly shooting that they came to lay flowers and candles at? Old West Village, poppers and leather, Stonewall. I mean, that's the spot.
Yeah.
Well, it is the spot.
And to be able to say, okay, here's LGBTI. What does the I even stand for? Who knows? Intersex. You know what? They can go fuck themselves. Formerly known as hermaphrodites. I mean, just go down the list and say LGBB, bisexual. Okay. We can fuck anyone. Let's have a benefit. It's just like, I mean, I've been a member of the gay community since it was the gay community. And, I just, like, maybe you can tell me the reason. I know there's good ones that we added the L, for lesbian. But in my mind, that was a division.
Yeah.
And from an already small community. And in fact, I think that's what we're doing with this insistence on gender roles and are you genderqueer, non-binary, or whatever. Right. It's confusing everyone. And what could be a teachable moment with trans stuff is missing the mark when you're telling me that Caitlyn Jenner is a role model to me. I'd rather see that honor go to someone that brings AIDS victims foods or walks their dogs. You're not going to tell me that I would support her right to transition. And this is the interesting thing in the show. I do make fun of Caitlyn and sing a song about her, but a year ago I wouldn't have been able to do that because everyone was stumbling all over themselves saying, "Oh, I'm supportive of Caitlyn's transition. I'm supportive of anyone's transition into anything." Now, if you have really transitioned into that, transition out of the Republican Party that seeks to destroy the rights of the community that you are wanting to join. Instead, you're going to tell me that I'm using hate speech. If I say a word that I've said, with my closest friends for decades.
I'll tell you though, Bunny, I agree with you on this point because I feel like since the beginning with Caitlyn Jenner, I was like, how can you be a part of our community? But I feel this way about, some of the log cabin Republicans too. I'm like, I don't know how you can align with a political party that works so hard against your rights. Like that doesn't even make any sense. And I felt like it was very naive. Of Caitlyn Jenner to take that stance.
Isn't that what the white privileged people that say everything is white, wouldn't they say, even though she's not cisgendered male, or that her that her privilege shielded her from the transphobia because she's in her Range Rover. She could afford the facial feminization surgery to make her, that many can't. But I think, it's.
I think she's been shielded to a point, but I think some harsh reality has also hit her in this last year or so. Because
you mean her makeup?
Well, but no, I mean, I don't think that the LGBT community has been as open and accepting of her as perhaps she thought they would be.
And
I certainly don't think
limits.
I certainly don't think that some of these Republican people have been all that open and accepting to her the way she thought they would be, or the way that she was used to them being before.
Then let her learn, just like the ones that vote for the guy that said, I'm going to get rid of Obamacare, and then they need Obamacare. And like the ones that get deported after Trump does what he says he's going to do and deports more than Obama. I mean, it's like, so if you're disappointed by a jackass, maybe you're one. But listen, this is the thing. It's like you said the log cabin Republicans. Okay. Yep. There are some within the community, like the proper Glad, that would say there's no place in our community for a foul-mouthed drag queen like Lady Bunny that would say the tranny word after we've all put that in the hate speech guideline and acknowledged that they experience more violence. There's people that would want to ostracize me because they're being grand. Some would just do it because they think they're being trendy. We can't ostracize the log cabin. If we're speaking as a gay community, then yes, there are going to be the Caitlins. Can we mock them? Of course we can. Can we wrestle with them and say, girl, why? Of course we can. We should. That's a conversation that only we can have. But at the same time, if this election, here's something that no one can disagree with. This election taught us one thing very clearly, that we are a large country with very different outlooks on a wide variety of things. And some of us did not know what was going on in parts of the country which went for Trump. And of course there's racism and sexism and anti-Muslim sentiment, but we also have to admit that Trump could not be a populist billionaire. That doesn't even make any sense. You've got your TV catchphrase is you're fired and you're going to bring back jobs. Come on, people. You've got families to raise. You can't. I mean, I asked my dad, who's like very political. I said, I live alone. I'm not trying to start a business other than Lady Bunny. I'm certainly not trying to put kids through higher education. But what if I was? How would I gamble and say, I'll go for the you're fired guy. You know what I mean? I mean, even I can understand, but I don't want to shut these people out.
But you weren't a big Hillary fan either.
No, I cannot stand Hillary, and I left the Democratic Party as a result of Hillary.
Well,
so I left them for good. And to tell you the truth, Obama's a corporate Democrat like Hillary, in with the banks, always wants more war. He was trying to get us into Syria. That's why I say, when Trump bummed Syria, Obama and Kerry were trying to get us over there. There's money to be made with bombs, and I'd like for that to be sent to this country. And Trump would send the truth with lies, mostly lies, I think. But he would, when he said to Hillary in that debate, he had the nerve to question his own party on the Iraq War. He's right to question it. George Bush was wrong. And when he said to Hillary in that debate, if we hadn't wasted $6 trillion bombing the Middle East, we could have rebuilt this country 2 times over, referring to her and Obama and George Bush. I guess everyone's failed policy that went over. And that's the truth. I don't think Trump cares, or I don't think he wants to rebuild this country unless it's his firms hired as contractors, but that was.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the thing of this administration. But Bunny, I don't think you should be ostracized ever for the things you say. I think you should be ostracized for who you are. And
the way that I look.
Always. But you have a song about Caitlyn in Transgender. You have a lot of new songs in the show.
Oh, it's almost all new, and adding a few bits and pieces to this run just to spice it up, because a lot of people came to the show 4 and 5 times. It ran for 6 months. Right. So, and I mean, to tell you the truth, it's the same raunchy humor I've been doing, but the New Yorker came and liked it. So
that's suddenly, a good thing.
No, it is. But the thing that's different about this show is that there's all this filthy stuff and smutty, meant to be. I mean, I say don't buy a ticket if you're prudish or PC, you'll hate it.
Yeah,
Don't come. This is for people that enjoy how rotten is she going to get.
I like it when you're rotten.
Well,
Bunny.
I mean, I tend to deliver on that front.
One of our favorite things. And actually, Bunny, the most watched video on YouTube related to our show is you when you were on the show with Bianca Del Rio.
Who?
Yeah, I know. Bianca
Del Rio?
Yeah. Bianca was guest hosting on the show. Romaine wasn't even there, and then you came in. We had quite the hour of power.
Did you ever stop to think that it might be more the fact that Romaine wasn't there? Wink, wink, Derek.
I could just push
Wink.
this, but no one can hear you. I turned off your mic.
That's so cold.
Wink, wink, Derek. I'm touching myself from across the desk. Wink, wink, Derek.
Interesting.
But I've added a few new things to my show, like my Beauty and the Beast parody. Romaine, you'll love it. Pussy and the Yeast.
Oh, I like that. That's
It is
wonderful.
so
Yeah.
tender. It is so tender.
Oh, that sounds delish.
A tale that's oh so ripe,
Oh.
as stank as it can be. Even Donald Trump wouldn't grab a cunt that smells so ungodly.
Oh my.
You're in
Bunny.
fine voice, Bunny.
Oh, that's. Oh. Oh.
Dare, shall I go on? No, come to the transgender. I'm going to London with the show. Did it 2 weeks in February, going back June 12th to the July 1st at the Soho Theater. Honey, she's in a theater now. She
That's
thinks
so
she's in
classy.
she thinks she's in a theater, but,
Yeah.
but I'm a club girl, and I'm fronting because I'm I like the clubs. I miss the big clubs. I'm a big moose, honey. I'm all about scale. I need to run out, bust out with some Frankie Knuckles DJ and just hit the floor and tear it up. I can't be in a bar. It's not going to work for me.
No.
Yeah, our last big club closed 10 years ago, Bunny.
Well, there was XL. Are you talking about Splash?
No, I'm talking about, oh, crap. Where we used to
It's
go?
memorable.
Oh, God. The roller disco, that place that closed.
Roxy.
Yes.
Yes.
That closed.
He was looking at me
10
like I do the
years
answer. Like
ago.
I have no idea what he's
Well,
even
that
fucking
was
talking
at the
about.
time of Happy House. There was a lot of organ and piano in the music. Peace in
Right.
the valley, peace in the city.
Yeah.
Those anthems. That
Right.
was all. They were on ecstasy.
Mhm.
So they were
Yeah.
happy, and you're hearing these gospel vocals singing about peace, the piano, and the organ, and the shirtless gods of
was a
Chelsea.
happy
When they all
time.
lived in Chelsea, honey, wow, that was
a happy time.
it was a happy time.
Happy music for a happy time.
What do we have now?
Dance our tears away. That's literally one of the songs.
Who is that by?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, it was a hit song last year. How am I supposed to remember any of these girls' names anymore? How am I supposed to know?
I'm so dumb. I forgot to mention that I have a new song out called "For You I'll Wait," and it's true to life. One word. Okay, working with the kids now. True to life, featuring Lady Bunny. And "For You I'll Wait" on Unique to Rhythm Records, out now on Beatport, Tracksource, iTunes, and whatnot.
Well, hey now, look at you go.
So you're a guest vocalist, you're saying, on this track?
I wrote the song, and the sad thing is that it's called "For You I'll Wait," and I made the poor man wait so long for the vocals because. Anyway, that was not even very interesting, but it's true. I'm so glad that Jeannie Hopper played it on WBAI recently, and somebody took a video of their car
Right.
playing it. So, honey, that's better than not being played. And you know what? That's the closest I got to a music video right now. Until some of the sales generate the whopping budget that can outfit me in the sort of vehicle that I desire for this project and many more.
But you've done other videos that have been big hits.
I've done comedy videos. I've only ever done one music video of "Take Me Up High," and that was a song with the same producer. Actually, is his mix on the video. So I enjoy working with him. His music's great. It's got a bounce to it.
Okay.
Well, all the kids today are doing these videos online. So when is Bunny going to start doing some videos online?
You mean like the kind where you do the FaceTime?
Any kind of video.
I tried to do FaceTime and my phone threw up.
Oh. That's not how that's supposed to work.
It's not.
Uh-uh.
Oh no. Well, I
should probably definitely stay away from the new Face app.
well,
then.
I had a camera installed in my toilet. Now you can follow me on Shitter. Trying to keep up.
Well, I'm glad you're trying.
And I'm on Feces book.
Ew. That's so gross.
Lady Bunny forever. And no, gross. Anyway, I'm trying to. Did I even answer your questions about anything? RuPaul's
kind
life
of
story,
half, a little bit.
on a tangent, ranting.
I didn't really get a good flavor of what the meatpacking district was like in the late 80s, but okay.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
One night, Lahoma Van Sant, who was in the Now Explosion, which is the band that RuPaul and I got started go-go dancing in Atlanta with. We were just fluff, and I'm really fluff now. Lahoma was one of the I guess keyboard player, and we came up here, so we would all go out and work in drag, and our home was right where the trans hookers were, so we know that they get harassed by police because that was back when we were young and thin enough, well they still are, that would know that would imagine that they wouldn't laugh at the suggestion that we might be trying to sell pussy that we don't even have. A real one. So that was back a few years ago when we might charge for it. But one night a trans person, a trans hooker had killed someone who lived in the neighborhood. So that we got home and it was like Frankenstein pitchforks, like the neighbors all, and as RuPaul and I walked past them all, they yelled stuff like AIDS at us. And I recognized one guy from the Pyramid Club and had to walk Nelson Sullivan that did all those YouTube videos, dog, regardless of what state I may have arrived home in.
Right.
But I went out there, I was actually agitated, so it snapped me into sobriety. And I went to the guy from the Pyramid, I said, babe, I don't have that wig on. You know that you just yelled AIDS at me? Do you know that? I understand that you're upset about somebody getting killed, but why would you possibly translate that to someone? I'm actually someone that you know and that we've always enjoyed seeing each other.
Right.
Like for decades, and now I have a wig on and you're saying this to me because,
Terrible.
Or the police would just say, keep moving. I say, babe, I live here. I'm locking the door. They'd be like, keep moving. They didn't even want to hear I pay rent here. So if this is any taste of transphobic, of course, if they look better than us, maybe the police are saying, keep it moving, or wink, wink. I don't know.
Okay. All right. But was that a fun time for you?
Yeah, those stories made it sound real fun.
No, but I mean, like, look, you're young. You moved to New York for the first time. I mean, I know New York was a sketchy place, but people get very romantic about the 80s in New York and how sketchy it was. So was that, in looking back, was that a happy time?
You said something that's the truth, because we when we reminisce, we think of the good.
Right.
We don't think of the bad. And here's a great example. I did a interview with a somewhat jaded club newsletter, and that not gay, more like Euro and whatever. And they said, is New York just like clueless Sex in the City girls in heels that they can't walk in, sipping bubble tea while talking, or not even talking on this, texting? And I said, yes, it is. And it sure did. Then he said, well, the next question was, well, what about that shooting on Christopher Street? You remember, right at 7th Avenue? And I was like, yeah, well, you know what? You just said a lot, because first you asked me, is all the edge of New York City gone? And I said, yes, it is. Then you said, did something, a shooting come? Well, that's edge. Nothing edgier than a shooting.
Right.
So do you want edge, or are you older and not mind less edge? Because when New York City was dangerous, the rich folks wanted to live in Connecticut or the Hamptons or Long Island. They didn't want to live in the graffiti-covered city.
Right. But now that it's all cleaned up.
Well, you can only speak from where you are at in this your truth. Your imminent truth.
But was New York what you thought it was?
This is my journey. Listen, Caitlin, this is my journey. And I talk about how I get off work at the Monster.
Right.
And there was a young Puerto Rican god looking at me like I was Marilyn Monroe. There was no seeing eye dog involved this time. And so I wasn't in the mood for it. He followed me. Girl, it was the whole thing. I don't really like young guys, but at my age, if they're older, they are dead. And so occasionally I will compromise myself with a young dude.
Of course.
And get down
if you
with
have
him.
to. Yeah.
Oh, it's too fresh. The dick is too hard. It's too fresh. No, thank you. Said no drag queen ever.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound like you, buddy.
But anyway, to make a long story short, if this kid followed me home, I was in a horrible mood because I'd gone back in drag to do a show with Bob the drag queen, and I got the week mixed up. So, on to me. But anyway, I was in a bitter mood because I'd been in Dallas, landed, DJ'd, twirled, slapped the wig back on after sitting at home in the mud pack facial for 2 hours, not eating. No, just kidding. And so, anyway, he follows me home, and he's sitting on the stoop, and I said, fool, go and talk to this god. You're not going to get this much longer. And so I gave him my number. I get in, there's 2 texts. Yo, I'm still out here. Let's do this, whatever. Then the phone rings. And it's got to be a 911 situation when anybody under 25 places an actual phone call.
Right.
However, an old bitch like me will pick up and will talk to you. And I did. And I talked him out of it. And the last thing out of his mouth was, yo, I was really looking for a tranny. I'm like, oh, my God. So, first of all, this is my journey. If looking at the Lady Bunny makes that young god's dick get hard, I'm going to be whatever the fuck he wants me to be. Screw glad. Anybody else, I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say. That's why I went to those marches and those benefits. So I have the freedom to do that.
Look, if that's what gets you laid, that's what it takes.
No.
Okay, so that didn't really answer my question about the early days of coming to New York.
Bunny may never answer those.
You have hopscotched across the decades for us, Bunny.
It's a bunny hop.
Because I was like, Bob the drag queen was in New York in 1989? I don't think that's true, but okay.
Well, we're talking about the monster. What was life like in those times? Well, I mean, if
you were just a small town girl.
No,
coming to New York.
No.
Bunny was never a small town girl.
No, I actually tried not to be even when I was one.
Mm-hmm.
That was a small city girl. Okay,
right.
Don't get it twisted. Chattanooga may. Anyway, they have some. Anyway, what was it like? Well, honey, you're in your 20s and early 30s. You're in New York. You're getting laid.
Yeah.
You're drunk. You're running around. You're enjoying fantastic music, and you're enjoying brilliant performers, and trying to do your own act, which my own act didn't develop until late in my career, because it was always like, oh, we know her from Wigstock, or we know her from the DJing or whatever, but it wasn't really until the last 10, 15 years, I don't think, that my act was together. And now I actually write with a comedy writer, and you're like, when do we see any evidence of this, buddy? No, but Beryl Mendelbaum, who is a Facebook sensation, someone who I met on Facebook, but she's great at writing for me. And anytime I get too preachy on my soapbox, she'll bring me down to earth with the self-deprecating humor that she'll write for me, imagining me as the pitiful thing that she sees me as. So today it was, when I step on a scale, I don't think my weight needs to go down. I'm too busy trying to keep my food down. Followed with, speaking of puking,
Oh, God.
could you have a look and see if that scab on my ass has healed up enough to eat it yet?
That's disgusting.
So she has a flair for like going inside my head and saying something that
Right.
I would say if I were actually on ever.
It sounds like she really gets you.
It
She
does.
does. She
It
does.
does. Now, Bunny, are you as a performer, are you happy about what's happening in the world because there's so much to talk about and make fun of? Or would you rather the world was in a better place and have less material?
I would much rather have the world be in a better place, but I don't think we've been going in the right direction, and I don't think there's much discussion of it for quite some time. I don't think we have. And while it is true to say that Obama pulled us from the recession, to which we haven't fully recovered, the truth is, since 1979, our wages have not been, this is under Democrat and Republican both, our wages aren't what they were, and the jobs are worse, there's fewer benefits, and this just, the middle class is becoming the working poor. And this is why Trump's populist message could resonate with people who aren't too engaged with politics. Maybe they are, or, either racist, anti-immigrant, or sexist, or anti-LGBT, take your pick. One of it, maybe combination of all four, maybe just three, maybe anti-Semitic, whatever. So but yeah, I mean, I think I think what was not said in every election I've ever seen, they walked around with a mic saying, "Are you doing better before or after the election? How about you? How about you?" And we heard from people. I think we were just assuming that everything was good. Now I think Bernie Sanders, who I supported, was an agent of change. I think that the change was too fundamental to the establishment goals to really get in there. So maybe to some extent it was pie in the sky. Oh, quote me on that one. But, when Bernie was saying towards the end he's going to get the super delegates to flip, babe, the super delegates represent the establishment. They are former politicians. They are lobbyists. They are representatives of the company that inform our policies on everything from climate change to health insurance to, plastic use. So it's I'm getting kind of lost in my thoughts here, but it seemed really important and fascinating for a minute.
Okay, good.
Would I touch on anything worthwhile?
Just the scab on your ass, Bunny.
Oh, I'm going to tell you a secret.
Okay.
It never disappears.
Oh, no.
I didn't mean to turn you on.
Wow.
Again today, Derek and Romaine.
Oh,
but you're going
man.
back to London.
I hope your child's tuning in.
Oh, I'm sure she
She is not.
is
She
not.
must be so proud of Mama today.
No, every day.
Oh my God.
She hates the show.
She does?
She does. She hates that I talk about her on the show. It makes her mad.
What do you
She doesn't
say?
want me
What
to
do you
talk about her.
say?
I tell the
I
truth.
mean, never anything good. Yeah, so the truth.
Yeah. But she doesn't like it.
Well, when you're, yeah, when you're in that age, you ain't about listening. You're about determining who you are.
Yeah.
You even if it's good advice, you're not prone to listen at that age.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I think the real problem is there's only one star in a Helen Lawson show. Yeah.
Oh, so the problem with the daughter is the mother? Is that what you're saying? The
I'm
problem
I'm
with the
saying there's-
daughter is the mother?
I'm saying there are two stars in this family, and only one of them has a show. And so the other one is not loving that.
Has she been on the show?
She has.
Do-
But her dream is not to be a radio star. She wants to be a YouTube star.
Okay.
Like you, Bunny.
Yeah. Y'all were just saying I need to make YouTube videos. Now I need to say I am a YouTube star.
More of them. You have already made fabulous YouTube videos.
I do love to make YouTube videos, but that's why I like to urge people to come see the live shows, because it's like, the thing about YouTube videos is it's like if you're Rihanna and you're doing the same song in every city, they already buy it and they already know it, but you need to laugh, experience something for the first time and laugh at it. And once you've done a YouTube video, well, queens are very crafty and they'll take the audio, of your parody and perform it and never give you credit or whatever.
Sure.
Now, if it's not taking much money out of Rihanna's pocket if
Right.
they perform as Rihanna, but if you're Jackie Beat they've actually stolen some of the patter between songs
I believe
of a
that.
Christmas album of hers, and it happens all the time.
That
Well,
would suck.
we are seeing the current season of RuPaul's Drag Race. We know there are very unoriginal queens out there. That's for
Oh.
sure.
Oh, well, there wasn't anyone quite as vicious as Bianca Del Rio in season 8, season 9, or in ISIS for that matter.
Wow.
You know, my relationship with Bianca, Feud, the series, remind me of my relationship with Bianca. Not because we fight, but because she looks like Mamacita and she is a deplorable drunk.
I'm glad to hear that the two of you are as close as ever.
Yes, we are. I do love that bitch. She is a horror. She cracks me up like no one. She's so hateful. I love her.
I have a hateful bitch like that.
Oh,
Right
What?
there.
No, but you need an entertaining one. No.
All right, there you go. That got the shade bell. Fabulous. Well, Lady Bunny, always a delight to see
Did you throw more shade than Adele hang gliding? Did you throw more shade than Latrice Royale's panties on the porch drying?
You got the shade bell every time. That's what it's for. Every time you say something shady.
I don't even know what shade is anymore. I'm afraid to even comment on that. Saw someone on the post saying, everyone knows this is a read. It's not shade. All you ballroom queens ought to be 7'4". Oh, so we've even got to. There's like a set way that we can't even say
For fuck's
shade
sake.
or read.
Ugh,
I mean,
that's exhausting.
well, I mean, one of my other things that I just think the political correctness has gone awry, and this has really enabled me to find an audience with this show who I think agree with me. I'm not the comedian that can come out and say, "Hey, how about that traffic on I-85?" Because I don't drive, and I never have, and I'm a nut, and I don't share many things in common with most people. Whether I didn't see Feud, I didn't see any of Drag Race, I didn't even see Drag U that I was on. You know,
buddy.
I'm like a news freak. I'm a nut. You know, I don't have, those things, but this stuff, how we deal with each other, I have that in common with people, and they're wondering, why are we putting up so many restrictions, and why are we putting up each other into boxes when surely this election proves we need to have conversations, even if they are difficult ones. And if you shy away from the difficult one, you are shying away from the truth. And the moment you start to demonize the truth, or the truth, or if you demonize someone expressing themselves, even if the way that they're expressing themselves is demonic sometimes. I mean, listen, my aunt is from North Carolina. She's ill. I went to visit her because it was thought that she was on her way out. So my mother told me, and I didn't want to talk politics when I was down there, which I did not.
Right, of course.
But my uncle, when I sat down for the first meal, after lunch, he said, "Would you like some watermelon?" I thought, watermelon in January, even in North Carolina? But I said, sure. He said, "We don't have any." And I forgot what clowns they were, but I knew that my mother had told me months ago that my aunt was interested in Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, she's a lifelong Republican evangelical. This I got to hear. So I asked her, and she said, "Yeah, we thought he was real honest." And this is a woman, my Aunt Carolyn, who is like a deer. She's gentle, like she speaks to me in this way. "Well, we love you, John." I don't like that too much. "John, we love you and we miss you and we wish you'd come and visit and we pray for you." And not one bit of it is insincere. She's a lovely, lovely woman. Don't you dare call her a deplorable just because she's not enlightened on some stuff.
Sure.
But when I spoke to her, she said, but then we voted for Trump. I said, "Well, Aunt Carolyn, you're very religious. How did the pussy grabbing jive with your religious views?" And I realized right then, oh wow, I can't believe I said pussy in front of my 80-year-old aunt. And because I'm a Southern thing. So and then she said, pivoted immediately, said, "Well, we like Mike Pence." Well, of course she did, because they're the religious types. And I said, "Oh no, Aunt Carolyn, we don't like Mike Pence because he actually believes in conversion therapy, and that you were a nurse all your life. That's like bringing back the lobotomy. It never worked. Why would you bring it back? It scars you. It's wrong." And so then we moved on. She didn't want to talk about it much more,
of course.
But at the end of the conversation, she said, "What was that thing that you said, Mike Pence, the conversion therapy?" I said, wow, possibly weeks for her from her deathbed. Not an educated woman in the New York Times sort of New Yorker way. She's country. When they go on vacation, they go up in the hills to a cabin. They already live on a lake. So no, they don't want to hear Dutch. They don't want to eat French fries with mayonnaise like they do in Belgium. This is, and they are not deplorable. They've come to different conclusions, and sometimes do we want to shake them and say, how did you come to this one? But something's going on with our schools if we're not able to critically pick apart what we are letting ourselves in for. And some of us are in love with train wreck behavior, which you want to talk about normalizing Trump. It's like, well, I think you're going to have to normalize him. He normalized himself by winning, the election. Is he a freak? I think so. But
and coming from you, that's saying something.
Well, I mean, I almost on some human level would say that Trump would admit to that. Almost, I mean, he is a nutcase. But I have to ask real questions. How did the Democrats, the party I've always been associated with and give money to, how did they lose to a Trump?
Well,
how did they have 15 Republican choices? We had 2, and 1 was cheated.
Well, I think that that part
and
of
then the loss. I mean, can we let it be shown? And this is what my Democrat friends, they don't like to hear it. All my friends support Hillary, whatever. But you've got something did not work. The Democrats are still doing what lost them the election right now. They're looking for ties to Russia. They're talking about how wrong Trump is to tweet about Obama bugging him. But he's awful at this, and this. What are they putting forward? It's easy to bash a nut job who is lying, on record. What are you about? Because people drifted away from you towards him. Why?
Because he talked about them. That was the difference.
And that's what they said, that why Bill Clinton was the first quote unquote black president, because he went to their churches. He played saxophone or whatever that means. But he was the first to engage black people, so that never having had that but I mean it's I mean I listen, I think some people are just hateful. There's an assholism that's like, fuck you to the climate, fuck you to, I saw a bumper sticker that said, kill them all and sort them out later. In the 70s, when the Iran, all that shit was going,
the revolution in 79,
and then I saw that in my sister's neighborhood outside Philadelphia in an affluent suburb. And I was like, wow, that's an assholism, to where you say, fuck a trans bathroom. It's a real, and we know that they hate Congress, because not only do they hate the Democrats' agenda, a lot of people, but the Republicans are hated because they shut everything down. And most people feel, let's at least advance the country somewhat, So it's disheartening, but we've got to focus on why people if this is just about personalities, we're sunk. You cannot have they always say you vote for who you want to have a beer with. I want to have a beer with Grace Jones. I don't want to run the country. I don't want her hand near any nuclear weapons. So let's grow up, people. Yeah. If you're voting for a personality, and I'll tell you another thing that was ridiculous to me.
All right, we got to go because we're almost out of show.
Okay, but when Oprah said, you don't have to like Hillary, she's not coming over to your house.
Right.
Well, that's a weird logic, because it shouldn't be in the plane of her personality, whether you like it anyway. It's whether she's capable. And because if you flip that reverse, well, then Trump's not coming over to your house to grab your pussy either. So when you start, that has nothing to do with policies, which the entire news was happy to omit. Policies like Obamacare. What does it mean when Trump said the first thing I do is appeal Obamacare? Now you're saying you need Obamacare. Well, so you're not thinking of policies. You're thinking you want to bash the establishment, or you're thinking you want to bash Democrats, Hillary, whatever. But would they hate the government so much if the government had been doing more that was right?
Probably not. Well, Bunny, you're the one who's doing it all right. We literally got to go because we have like a minute and a half left of the show.
I'm so sorry to go on a tirade.
No,
it's totally
okay.
fine. Look, it's good. It's cleansing to get it all out. Yes. Take a deep breath. and then go to the Stonewall Inn every
Poppers.
Tuesday in
Poppers.
May
Yes.
and go and see Transgester.
And tickets are on brownpapertickets.com or at the door in cash.
Yes. And Bunny will also be in London for those of you fellow travelers. Go to ladybunny.net and ladybunny77 on Twitter for all the updates. Bun, thanks for dropping by.
It was a joy, and I'm glad you two are back in the saddle.
We are too, trust me.
As am I.
Said-
Yes. All right. Thanks so much for being with us. Romaine, are we going to play something? Or are we going to run ourselves out of here?
Let's just
What do you
run
wanna do?
ourselves out of here. No?
Okay, fine.
I mean, we
but I
don't-
rapped with Bunny. We had when we had a minute and a half. You didn't want to do anything, say anything. You have something? We'll go to the phones. How about
Let's
that?
go to the phone.
Fine. Brian in Kansas City.
Your mic is off. I'm not letting you talk anymore, Bunny.
Brian in
That
Kansas
lady
City.
Bunny can come back whenever she wants.
She can.
Why doesn't Trump build that wall out of Hillary's emails since nobody can get over those?
There you go.
How is Trump going to support 12 million undocumented workers? Juan by Juan.
Jesus Christ.
These are the kind of high quality jokes that you can expect at a Lady Bunny show.
Yeah.
But
All right.
not safe from me, with me in the same room, able to prey on you immediately
God.
after and before.
So, Brian, I think what
It's
we're
called
saying
theater.
is we'll let her come back.
Yes.
Good night, everybody. Great show.
All right. Thank you, Brian. There's definitely more Bunny in our future. All right. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Lady Bunny. Join us again tomorrow. We have another fantastic show that's coming up. Remember, tell your friends how much you love Derek and Romaine. It just keeps getting better and better every single day.
I mean, I like to think so, Derek.
I like to think
Oh, bitter.
I'm bitter. Definitely more bitter. Anyway, Lady Bunny 77 on Twitter, and we're on Twitter too, DNR Show. And I posted a photo of our new studio space on Instagram, so check it out. And we're glad you joined us. Bye, everybody. Bye.
See you later, bitches.
Can't get enough of the show? Follow them on Twitter at DNR Show or like them on Facebook.
And don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe to DNR 2.0 at derekandromaine.com.